let's return to the basics. What is Bitcoin? We started with what is money? What is Bitcoin? We talked about hard money, inflation, fiat, the history of money, the history of war in the 20th century, and that takes us into the 21st century. What is Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is a software, and it's a distributed software to operate a peer-to-peer network between members who are all equal on the network. They're all peers.
Saifedean talks to Lex Fridman about why Bitcoin represents a pathway to a more peaceful and prosperous world. Starting from Lex's question, what is money? Saifedean draws on insights from his most recent book, The Fiat Standard, to take the listener on a 4-hour historical journey. He explains how money emerged as a market good, why the gold standard developed in Britain and spread across the world, and the intriguing historical circumstances that led to government-controlled fiat money becoming the global medium of exchange. By asking fundamental questions about money, the purpose of economics, and the technical foundations of Bitcoin, Lex prompts Saifedean to present a first principles case for free exchange, non-aggression in Bitcoin. We will now take you to the enlightened episode of the podcast as Lex and Saifedean discuss Bitcoin. Please watch, like, and share this video. You can also help us grow the channel when you drop your comments below. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks and enjoy the video.
1.5%. In other words, your share of the gold stock is diluted by 1.5% every year. Ideally, you'd like it to be zero. Bitcoin is currently at around 1.8%, headed towards zero. So it's the first money that we've ever had that goes to zero in terms of terminal supply. So there'll never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. And I think that's a huge deal because, as I said earlier, money is always whatever is the hardest to make, and now Bitcoin is the hardest thing to make. And then the second property, which is extremely important as well, is the fact that it operates without the need to trust in anybody. It doesn't have a party that is in charge of it. It doesn't have a central authority that can, it's, as I said, it's peer-to-peer. So it only has users. It doesn't have any admins. There's no authority in charge of Bitcoin that can take your Bitcoin, that can stop you from using Bitcoin, that can change the rules of Bitcoin. They can't make more of it. So it's fixed. It's available for anybody in the world. It's the hardest money ever invented. And it is absolutely, I think, an enormously significant invention because if you read the Fiat Standard and the Bitcoin Standard as well, you'll see my perspective for why I think a very large number of problems in the world are caused by easy money, are caused by inflation, and caused by government having access to essentially an infinite recourse to people's wealth. And I think Bitcoin fixes this because it allows us to have money that has the salability of gold across time, meaning it holds its value across time like gold, but much better than gold. But also it is similar to fiat in that fiat can travel quickly, but Bitcoin can travel even faster than fiat. So it combines gold's salability across time with fiat's salability across space in one immutable package that nobody can change and nobody can control.
Can you define the word salability?
Salability is the essential property of money. It's the ability of a good to be sold easily on the market, specifically to be sold without much loss in its value. So houses are great for living in, but they're not very saleable. If you want to sell a house, you can't just click a button and sell a house and have a giant market of people buying houses from you. You need to find somebody who wants the exact house that you have with the exact specifications that you have. And because, houses are not identical, there's no liquid giant market for people to just buy and sell identical houses from. Gold, for instance, has good salability as money because it's a liquid good, it's uniform, and people are always buying it. Fiat dollars have great salability because everybody's always buying and exchanging dollars for other goods. So if you have $100 bill, you can easily get rid of it and you'll get $100 worth of stuff for it. If you have $100 worth of stuff, it's harder to get rid of it. If you have $100 worth of phone, it's not as easy to spend it as a $100 bill. That's salability.
What do you mean that Bitcoin, I understand that Bitcoin has the salability of gold across time,
Better, even, yeah.
Better, yes, like on the order or whatever. And then it has the scalability of fiat across space. What does that mean?
So if you remember when you asked me what is the advantage of fiat, what is the advantage it offers us, it's cheaper to move fiat across space than it is to move gold. With the current fiat monetary system, for all of its flaws, you can send money. I could send money from my bank account in the US to a bank account in China in a couple of days, or in Britain, in France, in a day or two, which is, much faster than you could do with gold and much cheaper than you could do with gold. But in reality, with fiat, the reason Bitcoin improves on that is that with Bitcoin, you're actually you're sending final settlement in a couple of hours. So you send the Bitcoin transaction, you get 6 confirmations in an hour. You get about 12 confirmations in 2 hours on average. With 12 confirmations, you're pretty definitely clearly safe on this. So within a couple of hours, you could send $1 billion across the ocean and have final settlement on them. It's not just that you've sent a credit obligation that's going to need weeks and months to settle, which is the case with fiat. So it is faster than fiat, effectively. So it's harder than gold and faster than fiat.
Saifedean explains how a very large number of problems in the world are caused by easy money, inflation, and caused by government having access to essentially an infinite recourse to people's wealth. Saifedean believes Bitcoin fixes this, because it allows us to have money that has the salability of gold across time, meaning it holds its value. But much better than gold because it's immutable, is more portable, faster to transact, and has a restricted supply. In the next part of our video, Lex and Saifedean discussed Bitcoin's founder, Satoshi, and what we know about Satoshi.
I have to ask, to me, on a human level, it's fascinating, is it was founded by Satoshi Nakamoto, an anonymous founder. There's no leader. So that's another aspect of the decentralization. It's leaderless.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's not a monarchy.
Fortunately.
Or fortunately, yes. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto, do you think? And first of all, is it you?
It definitely is not me. I don't know who it is.
If it was, would you tell me? It's a trick question.
I know, trick question. But I mean, everybody who knows me knows I can't really code. So
you would say that even if you could. But
that's true.
Do you think it's one person? Do you think it's multiple people? Is it interesting to you? Do you think it's fundamental to the coin itself, to not the coin, the entirety of the concept, that its founders and Ammous, and how much guts do you think it takes if it's one person to just walk away from so much money?
I've considered all these questions many times. It's very hard to formulate a definitive answer to all of them. I don't know who it is, and I don't know why he or them or she are not spending the coins that they most likely have. I think what really matters in Bitcoin about Satoshi is the fact that he's not there. And this is what's truly astonishing about it. The most important fact in Bitcoin is the fact that the creator has disappeared and the thing has continued to operate now for almost 12 years without him being there, or 11 years, I think it's been since he's left. And this is really the most important thing. And, maybe he died or she died, or they got into an accident on a road trip or whatever. And that's why they haven't accessed their coins. Maybe they're incapacitated for some reason. But whatever reason it is, I really think it's fate or serendipity that is giving us this very vital, very, very, very vital building ingredient in Bitcoin, which no other digital currency would ever recreate, which is that, because it was the first, it was the one that was able to establish the first mover advantage and get all of the people who were interested in the technology to get into it. And so that's an enormous advantage. But, the cherry on top, or what made the whole thing really function well, is the fact that the guy who made it disappeared. And that it continued to operate, which is just a clear illustration that this is a network with no admins. And I'm tempted to think that they're incapacitated in some way, probably dead or gone, because I can't believe I don't believe any human being would have this level of self-control to not want to meddle with their invention so much. Even if they, they might have had the self-control to like mine the first million coins to get the network going and then throw away the coins or send them to an address that they don't have the key to, because they really just wanted the network to take off. They may have no access to the coins, and that's why they can't move them. I could see that happening, but I find it harder to believe that they would resist the temptation to mess with the network.
It's funny. I find that the founders of ideas are often principled and have the integrity that the eventual users of those ideas don't fully have. I tend to, we have the kind of cynical view, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we tend to, in our mind, generalize that all humans are corruptible. And perhaps that's true to some degree, but I think that some people are more corruptible than others. And I find that there is, I like to think that Satoshi Nakamoto is out there and, just like George Washington chose to walk away. And it's a principle. And the principle is more powerful than the financial reward or any of those kinds of things. It's a principle that stands for freedom. And there's a lot of people throughout history, even recent history, that are willing to die for these principles or live a life full of suffering and sacrifice because they're still living a life of principle and choosing that day after day after day. So, there's power to that. Money, what's the worth of money in the end? In terms of just personal financial gain versus knowing how much positive impact there is. So the person that chooses to walk away like that, I think, is the same kind of person that chooses to live.
Saifedean discusses the anonymity of Satoshi and how this makes Bitcoin even more unique. He states the most important fact in Bitcoin is the fact that the creator has disappeared and it has continued to operate now for almost 12 years without him being there. Lex says he finds that the founders of ideas are often principled and have the integrity that the eventual users of those ideas don't fully have. We have a kind of cynical view that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and we tend to generalize that all humans are corruptible. Lex goes into detail on how there's a lot of people throughout history, even recent history, that are willing to die or live a life full of suffering for certain principles. Whoever Satoshi may be, Street Crypto will be buying every Bitcoin dip. Please feel free to use our Crypto.com referral in the notes for a $25 bonus. Thanks for watching the channel and please comment below and let us know who you think Satoshi is. Have a great day.